All right, if anybody's interested in the children's message, come on up. So gather around, have a seat by your computer, your phone, your camera, and we're going to do the children's message for today, which is May 17th. So right here, I have a mystery box. What is in the mystery box? No one knows because, well, it's a mystery. And if you knew, then it wouldn't be a mystery. The contents of this box are unknown to you. Now, I see what is in the box, but you do not. So this is kind of like one of our lessons for today. So Paul, who is Saul, who was actually there at the stoning of Stephen that we talked about last week, he was the guy that held the coats while the people killed Stephen. He now is actually a Christian, and he's the one that's been God's chosen instrument to go and share Jesus with the Jews and the Gentiles and basically the whole world. So he's doing all of these missionary trips, and he goes to a place where they have an altar to the unknown God. Now it's a God that, so back then there was many gods, little g. There's only ever been one true God, which is the God that we worship, God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But at this time, they didn't want to limit themselves to just a couple. It's kind of like going to a ice cream store. There's not just one flavor, there's all kinds of different flavors, and they made so many different gods that they even had one just in case they missed one. So Paul goes to this place, Athens, where they have this thing to the unknown God, and this is a archaeological find that they had in Rome. So not the one that is in Athens that Paul is using, but this here is an altar that is to the unknown God. Now, Paul sees this as an opportunity, and he sees it as an opportunity to make a God that maybe a lot of the people weren't familiar with in Athens familiar, and that is, again, the God that we worship. So he goes to that, and I'm going to actually read what he says. He says, "Men of Athens, I perceive that in every way you are very religious." So Paul is kind of using their religiousness to his advantage. And then he says, "For as I passed along and observed the objects of your worship, I found also an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God. What therefore you worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it, being Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by man, nor is he served by human hands as though he needed anything, since he himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything." So Paul goes on to explain that basically this unknown God is the God that was there in the beginning, is the God that creates, sustains, and gives everything. And he doesn't need stuff made by our hands. He needs, spoiler alert, as we learn in some of our other lessons, he needs us. He needs our hearts. So we have this unknown thing that is a box here, and it's black, and it's got a lid, and you guys don't know what's in it. Have you ever gotten a gift where you're super excited, but you don't know what's in the gift? So maybe you go, you try to shake it, or you try to peel back the paper. This doesn't even have papers, it just has tape. That's boring. But you try to sneak to see what that gift is. Now, for me, a lot of the gifts that I've gotten that are the best, that when I open them, I'm most excited to get, are the gifts that are from those who know me. And that is kind of what God is, or Paul is talking about that God is doing, and what God is doing for us. Since he created everything, he knows what everyone needs. He knows the gifts that he needs to give us. And we're doing a whole, all 3 lessons today, so bear with me here. But the gifts that God gives to us, and we hear from Peter later, that we are supposed to be prepared to make a defense to anyone asks for the reason for the hope that is in you. And that hope that we have is because of those gifts that God has given us. But we do that with gentleness and respect, which is kind of what Paul does. He doesn't go in there and start knocking the altars over and say, this is awful. He uses what the people had to explain the gifts that God gives us. And Peter explains another gift that God has given us, which is baptism. And it's not just normal water. It's not something made with human hands. It's something that God has done for us. And in our gospel lesson, Jesus offers up another gift, something that he is going to leave to his disciples and to all of us, not so that we would not be alone. And that gift is the Holy Spirit. And he gives that to you. He gives that to me because Jesus is preparing to go away when he tells the disciples this. And right now, I mean, unfortunately, Jesus isn't walking in that door necessarily, even though he is currently within me, because through the power of the Holy Spirit, I have a new heart. Now, I am not a temple made by human hands. God did the changing through my baptism, calling me by the Spirit, so that I can be a place where that Spirit dwells. Without God, I'm nothing. I'm like this unknown gift that might be super disappointing. I am full of all kinds of ugliness and sin, but God, he prepares the place where he will dwell. Not anything that I did, but only what he did. Now, let's get back to this gift. Let's get back to what's inside this mystery box. Now, I've got something in here for each and every one of you. But unfortunately, right now, I'm not able to give it to you. They haven't invented some sort of thing where I can hand stuff through your TV, which, when they do, I will be a lot fatter because I will take all of the food on Food Network. But right now, we don't have that. So right now, we're going to keep your gift a mystery. But when we see each other again, we're going to have a gift for you that reminds you of the gift of the Holy Spirit that our known God gives to us. You see a repeat after me prayer. Dear God, thank you for living and revealing yourself to us. Amen.
Amen.